Good morning, everyone. It's Thoughtful Thursdays again, and we're so excited that you joined us. How many of you have clutter in your life? Or how many of you thought that you would someday want a designer to help you design things uncluttered and just for you personally? Well, we have an answer for you today. You know, we bring wonderful guests on this show, and at the end, she's going to tell you about a freebie that she has. So stay to the end, and you'll get to find out what you can get from her and how to get that. So I'm Carol Henderson. I have Life by Design, helping you to design your life so it spirals up instead of spiraling down, because your life should get better and better with each day and each year. So to live full out, your full out life, give me a yell. And my co-host here is Miss ABarbaraEllison.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Yeah, I'm Barbara Ellison. I'm founder of Wellness Playroom for the best version of you. And I have to admit, part of, like I'm on a mission to make happiness the norm rather than the exception, because I believe that each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, financially free, abundant life. Well, I have to say that part of happiness is being uncluttered, That's something that I've kind of been striving for. I am getting better. Not totally there yet, but I am definitely getting better. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Viewers know that Barbara doesn't like to go through her mail, and she ends up with stacks of mail. And when she finally goes through it, she finds not just one or two checks, but sometimes hundreds of dollars of checks in her mail.
Yeah, I do. I've done that. Although I'm getting better at sorting them right away. In fact, I got one yesterday and it was like, this is a check. Take it. And you would have been proud of me, Carol. I opened it, I took it, and I deposited it, because isn't it nice that you can deposit online?
Oh, yeah.
And so I just deposited the check, and it's like, okay, now it's done. And it's filed.
Cool. You rock.
I rock for that one little instant. Still got my other little pile here.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
A year ago, you had 2 or 3 months worth of mail piled up.
Oh, in a drawer.
Yeah, in a drawer, if not longer. So baby steps. I mean, look where you are from then to now.
Yep.
Everybody, let's give her a win.
Let's give me a win. Anyways, Krystal, welcome to the show. Now that we've just one of our little bunny trails.
Yes. So tell us, where did you start? How did you start out, and what's your backstory?
It's funny that I actually have a story about mail also.
See, I'm not the only one.
No, it was actually, I actually had a big transformational moment that had to do with a whole box full of mail. But before that, I think really I was kind of always called to help people through the rough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When they're going through some things. It's just sort of always been a calling for me to be there for the people that I care about in those times, even if it's just to like sit there in the room and be a body, like, you know what I mean? Just to be there holding space for them when they need it. And it's funny, I didn't remember even that, but that was apparently a thing that I did even when I was little, like younger than I can remember. But yeah, I would just make decisions to be like, nope, I'm gonna go do this over here, and just so that I could be there to help people and like hold space for them, especially while they're going through big things. And so there's sort of a thread through my life if I look back, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that was just like my calling. It was just sort of trying to find the how.
So I have a question.
Sure.
When did you first feel this? When that you can remember the first time you did this, because we're always telling people, God puts it in you. He puts your gifts and callings in you before you're born. But so often we don't recognize them. So how old were you the first time you remember doing this?
The first time I remember, it was probably in my teenage years, really. But other people have told me stories from when I was even younger than that I don't necessarily have memories of. Like, strangely, when in 2020 in the pandemic, we were living nomads at that time and went home to stay with my grandmother for a few months to take care of her. And I had a conversation with my aunt at that time, and she was telling me that even when I was like 10 or 11, she had her first daughter, or her first child, and I don't remember what was wrong with the baby, but there was some complications, and the baby had to stay in the ICU in the hospital. But my aunt came home with no baby.
Yeah.
And
Been there, done that.
And even at that age, 10 or 11 years old, I consciously chose, like, my family was all going to some sort of concert or something, and I consciously said, no, I'm not going to go. I'm going to go to my aunt's house and just be with her. Like, I'm going to skip out on this fun thing that we're supposed to be doing so that I can just go sit with her in her sadness. So, but even younger than that, I think, I probably started with my sister, actually. My sister had pigeon toes when she was little, and they had, back then, they put those metal braces on your feet to force them like this. And so she would have to sleep with them like that. And yeah, I think she was, like, there was a lot of just comforting of her, even from little ages. But yeah, that was kind of always a thing. Like, it's always been, when people are going through stuff, that's just sort of always been a calling for me to be there.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So how did it
Didn't mean to
progress?
interrupt. I
no.
had to know.
Oh yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. No problem. Well, I'd always wanted to have my own company. I tried, several different things, and it kind of, I don't know, I had an epiphany one day that led me into interior design, which was also kind of always a passion of mine. And it all kind of coalesced together, like all the things that I'm into, interior design, which is what's the word I want? Like, that's my comfort zone. That's where I like to play. That's my art. Like even when I'm stressed or whatever, like, I'll clean or I'll redecorate, or that's just sort of my outlet for creativity and stuff. But it took me a while to think of it as a career. Like, it was more like just something I did for friends and family, and I would help them with decorating stuff. I didn't really ever realize it was a career. And then as I progressed in that, I realized one day I could really truly help women through the medium of their space. I happened to be, at the time, I was working on myself, like some personal development stuff of my own. And I was working on healing my relationship with men and finding love for myself in my life. And I happened to be in this group with like 50 women that we were all in the same mastermind together, working in this program. And I just sort of wanted to help them. And so I had offered to feng shui their home for them. To help them bring love into their life. And it was interesting for me because all of my interior design work was like one-on-one and in person. But all of these women in this group that I was with, they lived all over the world. So it was sort of like having to now, like, I can tell you what to do. I can look at your home and I can tell, like, it was sort of like a coaching, I guess, is what I was offering them at the time. I'm like, I'll help you feng shui your place. Like, if you give me your plans, I can design it all for you, and then you can just sort of do the work there and feng shui your place, and it'll help you. Let's just see, you know what I mean? Let's experiment with how good does it really work, and how do we bring this in? And this was before my mailbox situation that happened. And surprisingly enough, there was like this range of what they were capable of, or what they were willing to do, not so much what they were capable of. So it is kind of capability, not like I can't lift this or I can't move this, but more like I just can't get rid of this thing. It didn't matter. It could be this, like they just couldn't, not that they physically couldn't, but they mentally couldn't, or emotionally couldn't. And so it ended up, instead of me just saying, you know, give me your plans and me giving you back a plan for what to do, it ended up turning into this coaching process that I took them through to help them get unstuck, because they all kept getting stuck with like the things they couldn't let go of, to move into this sort of new life. And it sort of, it was very much the same. It was like they were going through this process of a transformation, right? They were going through this hard thing. A lot of them had been divorced or widowed, or whatever had happened to them, that they were now older and single. You know what I mean? Like they were no longer 20 or, you know, 18 when you meet the first love. Like now they were second time around, used goods kind of thing. And a lot of them went through these emotional things. That's what they would talk about, like how they felt. And so it ended up being all this more coaching around not just the physical clutter, but the emotional clutter that was keeping them stuck there, not being able to let it go. And by not being able to let the physical thing go, really not being able to let the past go.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's so funny that you're saying that, because the other day I pulled out, I mean, I'm going to tell on myself. Oh, brother. I pulled out a sweatshirt and it had a stain in the front. And I mean, a fairly noticeable stain. And it was like, oh, I can't wear this. You know, it's got a stain. It's got a stain. That's all okay. I'm just going to throw it out. I put it to throw it out. And when it came to the point of throwing it out, I couldn't do it. It's still on my shelf. Like, for heaven's sakes, Barbara, just throw it out. But the thought that went through my head, well, if I keep this, I might wear it for just around the house. Who thinks that?
You're totally not. I can tell you, I suffer from the same thing. I mean, I have solutions for it, but I do know that mine comes a lot from my childhood with put on grubby clothes.
Right. Yes.
Put on grubby clothes because we're going to go and do work. Yeah. Or you're going to go outside and play and get dirty, or, you know, there was always the grubby clothes, and then there was the good clothes.
And the good clothes.
Yeah. Well, and I still, you know, because we live on a homestead, we have chickens, we do dirty work.
Right. And there's good for that. I have stuff like that too, stained stuff, because I like to DIY and I love to decorate. Like I have built, you know, a few years ago, I wanted a plant wall. And so I'd come up with this idea for, I took a pallet, like an old pallet, and I sanded it down and I stained it, and I make a mess. So I had, you know, stained stuff splattered all over my shirt, but I had a stained shirt to wear for that, because like you, I had kept, I mean, I spill food when I eat sometimes, and you know,
when I cook, it splatters.
When I cook, for sure.
My husband and I had that discussion this morning. We had plumbers coming, so he's getting dressed, and he put on some cargo pants that he could wear to town. And I said, "Why do you have those on?" He goes, "Well, my jeans are just so bad." And I'm going, "They're jeans." Holy jeans are okay.
And you're going to be doing plumbing.
Yeah, well, no, the plumbers have been the
But there has
plumbing.
to come a point where it's
Yeah.
like you do have to let them go.
Yeah, but
My
these
problem
weren't to
is
that
then
point.
I'm just like, well, they're grubby clothes, but I'm not doing any work. I'm just lounging at home, like watching TV, and to hell with it. I'm just gonna wear my grubby clothes.
Well, and around
they're
here, you never know
comfortable,
when
and
you're going to get
you know,
caught
it's
into
just
the grubby.
sometimes it's just laziness to go out and try to find something new. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's definitely a thing. It's
yeah,
definitely, but that's a lifestyle too, that if you have a need for grubby clothes, then
Right.
yeah, yeah.
go to the grocery store dressed like this, or because that's where it starts to be a thing. Now it's just who you are.
Right.
And I've been through it. After I became disabled, so after I worked with all of those, and I moved forward, it was a few years later actually, that I decided to make a business out of that whole thing. That I was like, you know what? I can really help women transform their lives with this. I want to make a business out of this. Like, this was the missing piece. Well, that was about the time that I hurt myself. My business was still small and I still was working full time at a job. And my business was just a tiny little, baby business, like not yet born yet, kind of just the side hustle that I was doing. And I was hurt at workman's comp. I had an injury at work.
Mm.
That's when I accumulated my giant box of envelopes of mail that I couldn't deal with.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everything in my body kind of deteriorated because it was workman's comp and it's insurance, and they get very unqualified people to make medical decisions for you, much like our Congress who wants to make unqualified decisions all about women's bodies.
Yeah, people that have never worked in their life making decisions. Right. For those of us,
I had all of these insurance people clueless about anything, just saying, well, you don't really need to go to that doctor. You don't really need to do this. You don't need to do that. So a year and a half for me to get diagnosed, and another year, almost year and a half to get surgery that I should have had 3 days after the injury. So almost 3 years instead. Everything like fell apart in my body. Like it just all deteriorated and crumbled. And so I couldn't wear clothes. Clothes hurt too much. I couldn't really leave my house. So I just lived in the grubby clothes for a few years because there was one thing that didn't hurt, right? A hoodie and some sweatpants. And I still wear sweatpants 90% of the time because everything else hurts my body. But yeah, I feel you with the grubby clothes. With that
but you don't need to have shelves of grubby clothes. You
No.
do, and that's where I was at the other day. It was like, for heaven's sakes, Barbara, just either throw out this sweatshirt or throw out one that's also grubby. Maybe this might be just a step up from total grubby.
Right. Maybe it gets
it was
life.
A whole conversation in my head. A whole conversation in my head.
I used to do this. I used to have to do that with my kids when they were little about decluttering stuff. And it was like, when does it, like, where is the cutoff of it becoming like a new life? At this point, I mean, I'm not big on throwing stuff away, but also like, who do you donate it to? When you can donate it to somebody else who does have a grubby job, who just needs a surplus, of grubby clothes. But most of like the donatable places don't take anything that's stained. So
a friend of mine works for it's like a free place that people can come and bring clothes, and so it's a charity, and she loves it. She said, but you wouldn't believe how many times they will open up a bag of clothes and go, this is not reusable clothes. This is just somebody emptying out their house.
And sometimes dirty.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how many people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have a dumpster out back that that it doesn't come into the shop until it's kind of gone through to see if it's like, oh yeah. I mean, just
Yeah.
but oh well. So but
Yeah.
just craziness.
They just go through stages of life. You know, they can become rags. They can become all sorts
Exactly.
of things.
One of the things that I'm trying to do is that when I do a really messy project
Mhm.
and I've got on really grubbies, at the end of the project, if I've been
Then you
painting
throw it away.
and then it's just, it does not go into the laundry.
Right.
It goes into the garbage.
It's great to wear for
I
painting.
just take them right
'cause
off
then,
into
right,
the
because
garbage.
otherwise you end up, ruining an entire load of laundry.
Otherwise,
with
they're, oh, well, you know, I could wear
clothes.
them for the next time I paint. Well, yeah, like the last time I painted my bedroom. Yeah, well, yeah, but that was like 2 years ago. I don't need to keep them. I don't need to keep
Right,
painting.
and when are you
clothes.
going to paint again? Like you're not
Yeah,
going to. That's a thing I talk about with clients. This is exactly that sort of thing that I wound up talking to those women about, and just discovering like the feng shui part is a tiny, tiny piece
Right.
of the whole picture, right? Being able to decorate a room or being able to feng shui a room isn't just, here's your magic solution, hang this on the wall, because A, that's not how feng shui works, but also, how can this one tiny little thing compete with an entire room full of clutter? Energetically speaking, it can't, right? It's like an elephant
Right.
and an ant, right? The two things can't, one will not outweigh the other, right? It's not a realistic solution. So it kind of started changing even the way I dealt with clients,
Right.
because I shifted, partly A, because I hurt myself and I could no longer do the getting out of bed and going to work, where I met with clients at their homes, you know, and and would do the project for them. But also in this process of helping these women and coaching them through this, it was like that bubble of me holding space for people while they're in transformation. I was actually able to now take them through transformation. Yes. Whether they were, I mean, obviously they had to be ready for it, but it wasn't just like we're just sitting there and I'm holding space, which is what I had done for a lot of people in the past. Now it was more of a guided tour, so to speak.
The take
like
action.
I'm taking them through a transformation in this process, and it changed the way I help them with design, because now it's like we deal with the clutter first so that we can energetically get everything moving and shake some stuff up. And then it was the next part of what actually happened was more like, okay, if we're going to design a space, like why would we design for you right now? Like that would be dumb, right? All this clutter is the past. It's all the shit that you're holding on to that we need to get rid of. It's internally and externally. We don't want to design for you now. We want to design for the future you.
Right.
The person who doesn't have this baggage anymore. Right. And so I ended up coming up with a sort of process for designing for who they're becoming as opposed to who they are right now. And then we use the feng shui to like make it all happen, like turn it into this sort of manifesting room, like just how that, and then I designed it all together into one big piece. And so it completely changed, even because I had already been working as a designer, right? And I learned you design this way, right? Because they teach you this is the process. And when I switched over to working with my own clients and incorporating the feng shui, which was really the missing piece for me, when I went from working for other people and just doing interior design, there was always something missing. It was just here's your room, you know, kind of like being, nothing against waitresses, but it felt like I was just a waitress. I was just serving them up. Here's your thing, right? And I was doing all the work. And so there was no transformation. They had no part in it. They had no part in it. They came in and told me what
they didn't help you cook. They just sat there and had let you bring it to them.
Right. They came in and they told me what they wanted, or, you know, like what was in their head. Because usually the people that come to me, like they have an image in their head, but they can't bring it into life, Like there's the translation from in your head to reality.
Yes.
That's the problem with all art, right? Like, I want a tattoo. Here's my idea. Now draw it for me. Or I want, this piece of sculpture, or whatever that piece is, that art piece. The translation from the vision to reality is where people who hire me always seem to get stuck. They just can't get it to be what they want. And so they would just sort of hand it off to me, and I would do it and hand it back to them. Here's your finished room. And no transformation happened. But when I started working with these women, the transformations were amazing. They would go from not just being single, but single and feeling like it was something wrong with them. Like they were the reason they were single. Like they couldn't. And now after we would do this work together and transform this space and really make room for what they wanted, a partner, a love, all of, not just I want a partner, whether that be a man or a woman. I don't care, but I want it's not just about a person or it's about the feeling and the relationship and the whole. And they would go through this process of transformation, and it was amazing what they would get on the other side. They would be a whole different person. It's such an amazing thing that to me, I just couldn't go back to just here's your burger. Like it was just like, here's your whole new life. Like it's not just a room. Now here's a whole new you, and because of they go through this process.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I have a question.
Yeah.
How many of our listeners, viewers, would love to work with Krystal like this and have their life and their rooms and their homes decluttered on so many levels?
Yeah.
Well, we have a surprise for you. Krystal has a gift. So, Krystal, you want to tell them what your gift is for our listeners today and how they can get a hold of you to receive this wonderful gift, because it's so exciting.
Certainly. Well, I'm offering complimentary design consultations for your space. We can just sit down one-on-one and on video, sort of like we're doing right now, and just have a conversation about your space. What are you struggling with? What do you need help with? What do you want to see in your space? And then I can help you with a plan for that.
Okay. So how do they get a hold of you to start that process?
They can schedule a complimentary appointment with me at peaceandprosperityalignment.com.
Oh, very cool.
Prosperity. Is the "and" spelled out?
Yep.
Peace and Prosperity
Alignment.com.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Yep. Just click the button to schedule.
And then after that
consultation,
they can find out from you how they go forward or make their decision.
Yeah, if they're interested in going further and working together, absolutely. We can talk about all of that there. But this is just to help them come up with a plan for their space.
Right.
So is that the best way for people to get a hold of you?
It is probably the best way to get a hold of me. They can also find me on YouTube. I put out one video every week for the serious DIY, like I'm going to do this myself kind of person.
Ooh, okay.
Just little bits and pieces to help you design a life that you love.
Okay, what's the address for your podcast?
On YouTube. The easiest way to get to that is I have a bit.ly link for it. And it's bit.ly Watch Krystal TV.
Watch Krystal TV. Okay.
Cool.
What were you going to say, Barbara? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, and I went blank. Nope, for a second. Gone from obviously not important because I've forgot.
Oh, okay. Well, guys, this has been so exciting. I'm in the middle of decluttering right now, trying to get everything ready for company to come. Barbara was supposed to come and she is not able to, but I had a whole nother crew that does, when you live at the lake, people want to come visit you, especially in the summer. So,
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So I've been going through all these emotions you're saying. Do I get rid of this? Do I keep this? Do I wash it and put it away? What do I do? So
Exactly.
anyway, this has been very timely,
Yeah.
very timely. So those of y'all that are watching us on Facebook, did you have something, Krystal?
Well, I was gonna say, if you need a little more help with the decluttering, you can download my 5-step decluttering method
Oh.
at declutteryourmindset.com. It's just a
Oh.
free PDF that'll take you through the actual 5 steps to decluttering. There's not just 2, which is what most people seem to think.
Okay.
Okay. But that'll get you started there.
Declutteringyourmindset.com.
Declutteryourmindset.com. Yeah. That'll also put you on my email list.
Okay,
So,
I may have to go download that and read it.
I
before
might
go
have
back
to go
work.
download that.
So those of y'all watching us on Facebook, please comment, like, and share out to your friends. And we bring wonderful content to you every week. On YouTube, if you're watching there, please give us the little thumbs up. Ring the bell and hit subscribe, or I guess you have to subscribe first and then ring the bell so you'll know when we have a new podcast coming out. But we do post them there also, Mavens of Motivation on YouTube. So it has been great. Thank you so much, Krystal. This has been fun.
My pleasure.
Fun.
Happy decluttering.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm going to go throw out that t-shirt, that sweatshirt.
Well, I'm excited to go, get back to what I was doing earlier and and
Just,
get that done.
get rid of stuff.
Yes. Okay, well, we
all
will
right.
see
Thanks,
y'all.
everybody.
Thanks
Have a good
for
one. We'll see you
coming.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.